All right, so we just watched Kirk Cameron Saving Christmas. Go.
There's so much to say about this movie.
Oh my God. What's up, y'all? Boogie Night here, and welcome back to the movie review portion of the Sub Boogie Night project. I know it's been probably close to a year since I've done a movie review, so I figured what better way to get back into the review portion of the project than do a revisit. And I couldn't think of a better co-host than the one and only Rage Queen herself, Rae. What's up?
How's it going?
So, very excited. Our first review together. God only knows how much we snarked upon the movie when we watched it.
Yeah, we were not nice about it.
No, I don't even think we even watched like a quarter of the movie because half the time we were just ripping on it.
Well, I mean, then there was a period where I got pizza, so I had to like walk away just to, get my food. But oh no, it was pretty fun.
Fun, very fun. Now, before we get into the meat of this entry, Rae, you want to talk about your channel a little bit?
I have a channel. It's okay. I'm an okay guy.
I'll put a link in the description below for those of y'all who don't know who she is. Definitely go check her out. Awesome content creator, amazing streamer, kick-ass individual. In fact, drop what you're doing now and watch her channel, which probably I just lost.
Or else I'll come for you.
And with then, a knife.
Well, I meant on your face, but you know what I mean.
Anyway. Oh my God. Anyways, okay. So also for those of y'all who don't know, since this is considered a revisit, I first reviewed Kirk Cameron Saving Christmas about 2 years ago when Morges and I did the Christploitation trilogy a long time ago. So hooray. Anyway, so with that being said, Rae, I'm going to let you lead the dance on this one. What did you think of this piece of shit?
Well, my first thought, it was so unorganized. Oh my God. Like, I don't even know where to start, honestly. It like from the moment it started, it would jump around to different scenes that had nothing to do, like related to the other, like the scene before it. I don't know. Like, I can't even tell you my thoughts on it because it's just so sloppy and just so misplaced. It was so random and weird at the randomest times too.
Mm-hmm.
I'll let you talk.
Okay, so for pure background purposes, for those of you that are sleeping under a rock with a secretary named Monica Lewinsky, Kirk Cameron Saving Christmas. Kirk Cameron Saving Christmas is a somewhere in this decade Christploitation film directed by the one and only Kirk Cameron, who we all know and some of you guys may like. I find him to be a complete train wreck, dumpster fire. That's putting it mildly. Just a wee bit.
I like a lot.
Fair enough. For the so-called war on Christmas that apparently the fundies are apparently going out of their skulls trying to defend. And this movie, if this really was about the war on Christmas, this movie did nothing to defend their actions.
Yeah, so it's called Kirk Cameron Saves Christmas, but what did he do?
He made it more confusing.
Yeah, he didn't do shit. And then, okay, so Kirk Cameron Saves Christmas. So obviously the movie is about him because he's even on the cover.
With a candy cane over his back like a cane.
Yeah, and it's like action-packed. I don't know how to describe it, but he's like coming at you like, I'm saving Christmas. But then it's like the actual movie is just him sitting in a car with another grown man talking about like, what was it? They talked about like Santa Claus and.
Oh my God, we'll get into that. Just from the box art alone, I half expected this movie to be like a Michael Bay film. Like, wouldn't it be amazing if Michael Bay like kicked in the door with the American flag and explosions?
Yeah, like it was like my perception of it from the cover alone is that it was going to be like action packed because it was like, yeah, I'm coming at you, I'm saving Christmas. And it just was not what we got. It was terrible.
Did you expect this to almost be like a shenanigans movie?
No, I feel like they really tried hard to be taken seriously. I really do.
Well, this is coming from the same guy that did the Left Behind series.
That's true. I was about to say unless he's a really good troll, because otherwise he's got me fooled.
I've seen a lot of troll movies. I played a lot of troll games, like anything GD Nomad has put out.
Oh God.
Yeah, at least GD Nomad is well aware and cognizant that they are trolls. Kirk
At least,
Cameron.
oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, as I say, Kirk Cameron's head is so far up his ass, the lump in his throat is his own nose.
Okay.
Think about that little Ouroboros for a moment there.
No, I don't think I will. That's okay.
Well, you need to actually get some sleep at some point. So
Look who's talking. Okay, this isn't about us.
yeah,
We're not
we're not Kirk Cameron. We're not going to make this an ego move. But literally, this movie was 40. This was an hour and 16-minute long movie. Maybe 5 minutes of it was I don't even know what. It was 5 minutes of something. 15 minutes of Kirk Cameron reacting to things, and the rest of it was just this awful exposition dump. It had more of an exposition dump than Last Airbender.
Okay, well, yeah, now that you brought it up, I think it starts with the fucking intro alone, because it's Kirk Cameron sitting in a chair, literally listing out the things he likes about Christmas, and then he does like awkward pauses, and then he starts going like conspiracy theorist on like how there's a war on Christmas, and like oh my god, this is the best part too. What I thought
the hot chocolate.
Oh my god, the hot chocolate. What was in the hot chocolate?
Oh,
everybody was going crazy for that shit.
We'll talk about the hot chocolate because that deserves its own critique.
Seriously, there was something in there. But no, what I was gonna say was that I found the best part was how he was all like, if you don't believe in Christmas, that's fine. Just, keep it to yourself. Don't tell anyone else. While he's a Christian shoving propaganda down her throat.
I was going to say, can we once again just talk about the victimization for a moment of this crap?
Seriously. And it's like, you're making a movie called Saving Christmas on what? The war on Christmas? Like that's propaganda right there. Like, what are you talking about?
I've seen a lot of Christploitation movies in my day. God's Not Dead 1, God's Not Dead 2, War Room, Second Glance.
What about? Go ahead.
I was going to say, while God's Not Dead and God's Not Dead 2 were straight up horrific propaganda pieces that for all I know is James O'Keefe, is probably sitting there, saying hi to the monster while he's watching this dead piece of shit. At least there were some moments in God's Not Dead where there were some shenanigans that I could genuinely laugh at. This movie had none of those.
Well, it was, there really wasn't. I don't know how to describe it. It was like it was taking itself too seriously.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's kind of like it was a tire fire and tried to prolong it to see if it can kind of come out of tire fire, but it just wound up in tire fire land again.
That's a way to put it.
I mean, okay, so let's just start with the cinematography being awful.
Oh my god, the freaking, like, especially during the Santa Claus flashback or whatever it was, like the freaking. Okay, one thing I hate about. One thing I hate about modern movies though, like action movies, is like a shaky camera. Like I can't focus on a movie when there's like an action scene going on and it's all shaky. Yeah. I hate that. And the fact that during the Santa Claus scene of all parts, there was like so much shaky scene going on, and all he was doing was getting dressed. Yeah. Like, oh God, I hated that so much.
And the rest of the movie was nothing but still frames. Not still frames, but like the camera didn't move. It was just it was frozen in one place.
Nope, there was one camera on Kirk, and then there was one camera on, what was his name, Christian?
Christian, I know. Christian. Wow, subtle, right?
But yeah, no, it was a really dull, flat movie. Like the cinematography was just very one-dimensional. It wasn't very there wasn't depth to it. Like it just it was boring.
I feel like since this movie was produced by Liberty University, their budget was so limited. They only had one camera, so they would do one shot with the camera and then move it to Kirk and do all of his reaction shots where him just going. And then cut to Christian, would then do like the dubbing of like his monologues and stuff, and then they had some college kid doing the editing to try and make it look good. I mean, I've done editing on videos when I was in college. My skills were absolute crap, but oh my God, my editing
Dude.
skills in college were like freaking Paper Moon compared to this movie. Oh my God.
Well, I took like a couple years of film in college, and yeah, like I could tell you that I don't know, like it's worse than like a high school production, honestly, because
Mm-mm.
even college like freshmen know different, like they know how to spice up a film and they know how to edit, and it's this movie was not done really well, and it was done ironically by a university.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the other thing too. Even when he was doing the exposition dumps on Santa Claus, on Saint Nicholas, on the Christmas trees, and trust me, we're gonna get all into this. It
Ugh,
still was
flashbacks.
a still. It was still a still frame. It was still there was. It was either that or a CGI dump.
I know CGI was terrible.
Say again.
The CGI was
Oh,
terrible.
I know. It
Oh
was
my god. It
the
was
only way I could describe it is like go onto Steam and watch any of the intro animation for Darkest Dungeon. That's the kind of the only way I could describe the CGI, except Wayne June wasn't narrating. Which, actually, come to think of it, if Wayne June did the exposition instead of Kirk Cameron, this movie would have my attention.
it would be like 1,000 times better, even if it was Christian propaganda.
Well, even my bad voice doing the exposition dump would have been 10 times better than Kirk Cameron's little lilty kind of like, I drank the Kool-Aid thing.
What is with that? You drink.
I love your comment at the end after we finished watching this movie and your hypothesis about how they were all dead.
Yeah.
You want to repeat that?
I said, wouldn't it be how did I say it? It was like, wouldn't it be a twist if the sister, Kirk Cameron's sister, was actually a cultist and she poisoned the hot cocoa? So the whole time this movie was going on, they were actually dead. That was my theory, and it makes sense because like every character was like so like they all had cocoa. They were getting more like they could not put that shit down.
Hmm.
It was like crack to them. So my theory is that it was laced and they were all dead, and this whole thing was just a huge imagination.
And then Shyamalan kicks at the door. Is like, "What a twist!"
I,
This
that's
movie, I would have bought this movie if that was the case, even just to watch the last few minutes of them all keeling over Jonestown style.
like in my head. I just imagine the whole party. Okay, so at the end when they do that break dance, that was so stupid. That's where their bodies would all be piled up, just like like
It's like just like creepy Jenga blocks.
oh, and then the final shot as the camera's like panning over the bodies, we see Kirk and Christian next to each other, so like in the same position they were in the car.
With Kirk's being like,
Yeah, with the same face.
with Kirk just reacting. Honestly, I would love to see another movie with Kirk Cameron, not saying anything, no exposition, just him reacting to things.
I'm sure there's a compilation somewhere.
But okay, so let's actually then use that as a segue from the cinematography, because there really isn't much we could talk about, because it literally pretty much just felt like a one-camera thing.
Pretty much.
I mean, let's actually talk about the character interaction with each other.
Vague, one-dimensional, not well written. What more can I say? It was terrible. It was like third grade dialogue, basically.
You kind of almost feel like they got the script the same day they were supposed to record, so that half the time it was them just shooting from the hip.
Yeah, well, remember I made the comment about how I was like, because you said something about how it's like probably not a real script or something like that, and I was like,
Yes.
he probably wrote it in a notebook and then just gave a copy to all his family members.
He wrote it down on toilet paper. And then they rolled it back up when they were done because they want to be able to save the environment, because that'll be the next Kirk Cameron. Kirk Cameron saves the world. But this is coming from a guy that invented the crocoduck.
And then he goes to Africa spreading the word about Jesus because he's saving the world.
And he takes the song Africa by Toto to a whole literal meaning when he says he blesses the rains down in Africa.
well, you know how missionaries go to Africa and they will preach to like starving tribes and they
Oh,
think they're doing good. That's what Kirk Cameron would do. It's like these people are starving and they don't have clean water, but you want to teach them about God. Okay.
Oh,
But
I've seen the mission when the missionary goes to South America, and that actually really happened. Anyways,
but
okay,
anyways,
so the character interactions were pretty much like. The more I think about it, the more I think about your hypothesis of them drinking spiked cocoa and dying. It's because the way they interacted with each other was like it was almost like a drunken frat party, but with religion.
well,
I mean,
is
let's start with like I guess creepy Uncle Bill, who had a whopping 5 seconds in the movie alone.
Yeah, no, there was no reason for his character. Like he was probably the worst misplaced character because like he was mentioned at the weirdest times, brought in at the weirdest time, and then what do you know? He was the one to like close the whole movie. Like, what the fuck?
I mean, literally, there is one scene when Uncle Bill, who is as old as dirt, is sitting there with a cup of hot cocoa in his hand. And once again, the hot cocoa deserves its own critique in this movie to begin with. There's a second scene when Kirk is trying to find Christian. He's like, hey, Christian, got some hot cocoa. Uncle Bill's here. Flash cut to Uncle Bill. He's going, that must have been where Kirk Cameron got his reacting shots from Bill just sitting there looking like he had a stroke.
Well, and the funny thing was he looked like he was like Asian or like Native American or something like that. Like he looked so not like
whitewashed like the rest of this movie.
Yeah.
Well, he was trying to fill in the affirmative action quota.
Well, it was like
the unions wanted to make sure Uncle Bill was somebody of not white descent.
They're like, we need one character that's not white, and they chose the oldest man who had like no cameos.
And then they give him John Boehner spray tan.
Going back to the dialogue, though, I was gonna point out that each character had like, well, every dialogue was just terrible, but the way he interacted was different. Because like the sister, oh my god, she looked like a fucking bitch. Like that, she was not having anyone's bullshit. And anytime you try to talk to her, she'd be like, "That's Uncle Bill."
Like she'd give like a 1,000-yard stare.
I know. It was like even when he was all nice and like he came to realize he loved Christmas, she was all like, like, Big Papa.
Oh,
that's like the worst line.
That was like the most forced conversation I ever had or I ever heard in a movie was, "What are you gonna do, Big Papa?" You could put
like porn music in the background and be like, "Big Papa."
I mean, I was ready to cue up Barry White at this point, or like put on. The only character that could actually save this movie, no pun intended, would be Crazy Eddie Redmayne from Jupiter Ascending, just walking in the door at some points and going from whispering to screaming the next minute. I don't know if you've ever seen Jupiter Ascending.
Let's say I did. No joking.
Well, I know we're adding to our list.
Well, anyways, going back to the dialogue, though.
Rein it in a little bit. We watched a movie.
But the black guys, though, like they were so stereotypical. Like I don't know what their names were, but the one who was like rapping or
yeah, the DJ at the end.
No, because one of them was like darker than the other one.
I know you're talking about sweater vest.
They all had sweater vests.
Oh God, you're right.
The one, the one who was doing the when they were all breakdancing at the end. The one.
Yeah, he was the DJ guy.
Yeah, him.
I know you're talking that guy.
He was so stereotypical. It was like Kirk Cameron has like no black friends. And he was like, "How do you write for a black man?" "Oh, I know. We'll make him say stupid shit like, mm-hmm." It was so stupid. It was like.
Were you just half expecting him to do the snap at some point?
Kind of. He kind of had that like sassy like black man kind of vibe, and it's like, when you write for black characters, you don't have to make them over the top. They're just people who talk like normal people.
Well, I mean, even just a movie like Friday or Barbershop. it doesn't. It's. I mean, okay, mind you, Chris Tucker is extremely over the top, but I mean, Ice Cube still kept it reined in.
Well, I mean, those movies. I mean, I didn't like the way Kirk Cameron portrayed them. Like it was so stereotypical. It was like
Yeah.
he just did such a bad job, and the fact that they put that poor guy through all that and made him do those lines, it was just terrible. Like, it just makes me cringe.
And not to mention the conspiracy theory scene between black dude and white dude when they held the coffee mugs in front of their mouths to make sure that people didn't see their lips move.
What was that? Like, oh my god. Okay, so it started off about the word Christmas, and then it all of a sudden turned into like other things, like other conspiracies, and it was like at some point you're just like, what is going on?
What happened?
And yeah, in the movie they're like holding their mugs up to their faces so that you can't see them lip syncing, but they're making like facial expressions,
And once again, it's like Kirk and Christian, like it's like white dude was going into these conspiracy theories, and black dude is just going.
I know he was looking he was all like.
So he was just reacting like Kirk.
Oh god, now that you put it that way, but no, like he was like doing such an exaggerated, like I agree. That's what it was
Amen,
like.
my brother, amen.
Yeah, that's the face he was making, because the guy was all like rapping this like weird conspiracy theory, and the guy's just like, yep.
You know what would have made that scene marginally better is if he took his hot cocoa and poured it on the ground like he was pouring out some for the homies.
I thought you were gonna say over the other guy's head.
That would have been a lot better, but I was going for the homies approach.
I imagine him just like, as the guy was rapping, the other guy just kind of like looks at him and just like pours his coke over his head.
Well, here's the funny thing too: that band that was playing at the end of the movie, doing all the rapping, it's by 5 white dudes. Really? Family Force 5 is by 5 brothers, and they're all paler than me.
This whole movie was a dumpster fire. What can I say?
The tires, yeah.
And dude, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say. I mean, no, finish up, and then I was gonna say we're gonna segue into the conversation between Kirk and Christian.
Well, that's what actually I was going into.
Let's talk about the main event.
Oh god, go ahead.
Kirk and Christian and their conversations.
That was like I want to say like half the movie right there alone.
It was more than that. It was like 2/3 of the movie.
The whole movie is basically them having a man-to-man in the car, like in the fucking car.
And the sexual tension between those two.
Oh my god, I know. I kept telling Boogie, I was like, any second he's gonna reach up and just put his head down for this match.
There's a reason the camera cropped right there below the waist, below the chest.
Well, I can definitely tell Kirk Cameron had a boner, but even the cameras wouldn't be able to pick it up, so.
Oh. Yep. Rae just went there. Well done.
Well, anyways,
so let's stop talking about Kirk Cameron's micro penis and talk about the burning desire between Kirk and Christian, to the point that Frodo, Baggins, and Sam should have just walked and said, "You should have called me, bro."
Well, I just wanted to say though that for the most part, the guy Christian, who is Kirk's sister's husband, so that's Kirk's brother-in-law, basically.
Don't just say his sister's husband, because he was pretty sexist against his own sister anyway.
I know. He kept saying, you're going to go in there and kiss your wife. Like, not even mentions, like, it's I don't know. Like, most siblings are like, go kiss my sister or something. Or, like, go kiss her first name. He's like, no.
Use the name.
Well, it was like, go in there and get your wife. Like, I just felt like it was like, he was meaning it, like, as a property kind of way. Like,
it had that.
Not my family. I've given her away to you. No, but anyways, what I keep trying to say, because you keep interrupting me, is I didn't like the way they portrayed Christian as kind of like the villain, or like the one who was in the wrong.
The anti-hero almost.
Yeah, well, because like Kirk talked to him like he was a fucking moron who was, in the wrong. But the truth was, Christian was actually in the right. He was bummed about, he was depressed because fucking, Christmas has become about consumerism.
Which, for all intents and purposes, it kind of has.
Yeah, exactly. And he was bummed because nobody actually cares about, spending time with family or celebrating holidays and blah, blah, blah. Like, the ironic part, though, was not once did they even mention Jesus either. Like, a Christian movie, they didn't even mention Jesus. It was all about consumerism stuff. And then Kirk is all like, you drink the, what was it, Kool-Aid? No.
The cocoa.
Yeah, the cocoa. He's like, you drink the cocoa. You sing the songs. And it was like, what are you getting at, Kirk?
Yeah, I'm like,
So,
I don't understand. Am I supposed to keel over and die in 30 seconds? Or do you want me to pass the curse along and then I die in 7 days like the ring?
see, and that's the part that confuses me about the whole movie and the title and like the plot, because like Kirk Cameron doesn't say Christmas. It was like you just made some guy who was already feeling terrible about himself feel more terrible until he agreed to
Almost
see
like
it.
Stockholm Syndrome.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. Like, because the poor guy, he's just like, I'm really bummed out. It's all about consumerism. It means nothing anymore. And Kirk's like, oh, what are you talking about? And then he goes into that weird flashback of like Santa Claus and shit.
Oh my god. Yeah, we'll break down the plot in a couple
Oh my
minutes,
god.
but the level of like you were saying about basically he's burnt out, which makes sense. It's the holidays. We have work, we have family, we have stuff we've got to get done. We try to take some time for ourselves, and we still have expectations to go out of our way to spoil people we care about because it's just completely expected of us.
Yep.
And it makes sense that he's bummed about it. He's like, well, now I got to buy presents for my wife, for my kids, my neighbor's kids, your kids, Kirk, because apparently your wallet is fatter than your ego. And he just wants to blow off some smoke. He just wants to be just like, let me get this off my chest.
No, technically, he didn't even want to talk to anybody because he was in the corner.
Oh,
he was in the corner minding his own. Well, okay, so he was in the corner watching little girls dance, which was weird.
Which was really creepy, yeah.
But
along with Santa Claus pulling little girls into his lap.
Yeah, that was even weirder. Oh my god! And then the
serial killer Santa.
And the fact that he was all like doing that weird stare into the camera like that. Oh, but that's a different subject. No, but like he was minding his own business. He didn't want to talk to anybody. And then Kirk was like, "Oh, hey, he looks bummed. I'll go talk to him." So
I'm gonna go follow him to his car.
Yeah, so technically Kirk was the one that initiated it. He just wanted to be left alone. And then when he told him about his problem, Kirk was like, "Oh, what are you talking about? You're just not in the spirit. It's your fault."
Yeah, it goes back to the victimization part about Christians being the victim to this whole thing.
Dude, I know they did not get that. If Christians are such victims, he really did not show that. He only made him look like an asshole, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, he went from being the lone wolf who just wanted to be by himself, because let's face it, we need time to ourselves, particularly when we're surrounded by people we don't want to be around. And
yeah, dude, like when I was growing up, I didn't really like the half of my family. If it was extended family beyond my intermediate family, then I wasn't interested. So I can relate. It's not always fun to be at Christmas parties or Halloween parties or whatever. So.
Yeah. I mean, and I work 12 plus hours a day, and I have to be professionally jovial the entire time. When I get home, I am wiped. And the last thing I want to do is go to a party or go have to put on the fake smile again. Because I can't find Botox on the regular market these days.
I got some for you. Don't worry. It's okay.
Oh, you gonna pass me the pills?
Well, it's corn syrup, but I'll still inject you.
Okay, cool. Anyway, so we watched a movie. But
we watched a movie.
Yeah, I guess we could call it a movie. I mean, just like you said. I mean, it was just he was trying to get. Didn't even want to talk to Kirk. But then when he starts explaining his whole hypothesis about Christmas and Christ and Jesus and stuff, once again, it literally is Kirk just going,
yeah,
followed by, you're wrong.
Yeah, that's all he did. He would just sit there and stare at him. And then there was this one point where he was like, like that. Like,
yeah, like he was about ready to giggle. I mean, I don't know if it was just because, Christian finally found his wood.
Shut up.
Oh, come on. That's funny. I don't care who you are. That's funny right there. And then Kirk would immediately just segue with this awkward cutscene to an exposition dump that, by the way, fact check, none of those actually happened.
Well, I just realized, though, is that, I just had a good point, too. It was like, oh, yeah, Christian would make really we already covered the fact that it was about consumerism. He would make logical points, and Kirk would just say, "You're wrong."
Yeah, what like most Christians would just immediately just say, "Nope, you're wrong. I'm right. Here's why I'm right. Here's why you're wrong." Even though logic is glaring them in the face. And also, like I said, none of these little exposition dumps were fact-checked, but they were the most bleak things possible. And this is where the Michael Bay concept comes in. First of all, you have St. Nicholas, who apparently was a badass, beating the ever-living snot out of those that sinned, which, by the way, didn't happen according to historical annals.
Yeah, okay, so in the flashback, he was talking about how great of a man Santa Claus was. He walks into a bar,
flops down and starts praying.
Yeah, and then there's this guy who's minding his own business, just talking with his friends, but he was a non-believer. And you know what Santa Claus did? He fucking assaulted him for no fucking reason. And not just that, like, he fucking murdered him.
Yeah, and then it just goes off into this, like, almost 1980s Willow, like when Val Kilmer finally loses his mind in Willow and goes on a killing spree. Actually, that didn't really happen, but anybody who's seen Willow knows when Val Kilmer finally shakes up and starts killing things. You are great.
It was just so random, though, because, like, literally, the guy was minding his own business. He was just laughing and talking with his buds, and Santa just fucking assaults him, drags him out of the fucking bar, and then uses his fucking cane to stab him. And then he was like, and then Kirk was like, he was narrating it as he was going, but then he's like, then it was time to go deliver presents to all the good boys and girls. And it was like, Santa just murdered someone and he's going to go deliver presents. Your comment, when you heard that and you're just like, when you just go, what is this? I just cracked up so hard. I was like, what's going on? And then, okay, so that was what happened at the end of that exposition. Before that, Christian goes off talking about how Christmas trees is pagan iconography. Well, here's the thing, too. Let's recap for a second. Let's talk about pre-Judeo-Christian mythology and lore. Most of the saints were adaptations from pre-Judeo-Christian religions. The gods, the goddesses, the fairies. Saint Epona was originally a goddess Epona. Saint Morrigan was the Morrigan who washed the bodies of the dead who died in wars. That's just two examples. Christians don't care about facts. Well, yeah, I know. The Blessed Trinity was based upon the triquetra of the Celtic knot, which consists of heaven, earth, and air. You might want to stop while you're ahead because you are blaspheming. But here's where Kirk goes off. So then, okay, so Christian has a slightly logical argument talking about pagan iconography. We're just dictating this in terms of Christian to Christian, no pun intended. And Kirk goes, no, you're wrong, because pine trees were the same trees that carved Jesus' cross. So when you look at a Christmas tree, you are staring at thousands of crucifixes. I don't sleep to begin with. I don't want to have nightmares of looking at my Christmas tree and seeing a bleeding man stapled to it. Dude, that whole argument was so pointless and unnecessary and just random because it had nothing to do with anything. Like, the part where, like, it showed, because the flashback showed a little, or was it a flashback or just? Yeah, to like a kid in tree lot. Yeah, there's some originality. It's a little girl walking into a tree lot, but Kirk Cameron is like, every time you walk into a tree lot, I want you to imagine crucifixes, and it's like, I mean, you want us to think about walking into a graveyard, like you want us to walk into a. I love when you said that. You want us to think about walking into an execution site. Jesus wasn't the only person to be crucified. That was that was an execution for a lot of people. And yeah, people predating Jesus. The fact that Jesus was also crucified next to two thieves, if you believe the history. And then you want us to think about that? Like, that is really morbid and disturbing and just gross. Like, come on. Seriously. And then the first one was the traditional exposition dump about how Mary and Joseph gave birth, or Mary gave birth to Jesus in a manger, but somehow it was tied to a cave, which was supposed to bookend the fact that Jesus was buried in a cave. Yeah, I really did not understand, because like I don't even get the point he was trying to make. Like, he was trying to make a point about something, but literally, how does any of this got to do with like Christmas? Or Christmas? Like, nothing. Nothing. And you know, all these like arguments he had still didn't like um, didn't counteract Christian's original
No.
argument that it was about consumerism.
You know what it kind of reminded me of? And this is going to get political for a second. It was like Kirk Cameron was issuing a filibuster to prevent Christian from actually saying what could possibly hold some weight.
But he wrote the script, so of course.
Yeah. Well, exactly, because he's the most long-winded out of everybody. So when he wasn't staring at the camera with this look like he just licked his nose and stuck it in a light socket.
The fuck?
I mean, just the look on Kirk's face, it was almost like this dreamy look of shock and horror. And I mean, like, blink, Kirk, do something.
You know, I think he was trying way too hard to act. Okay, so let me tell you something. He was overacting so freaking hard. Like even in the beginning when he's in the kitchen with his sister, he's all like, "Wow, this is great food. Who made it?" And then it scrolled over to his sister, who's just like,
"Dude, I'm right here." Well, even in the beginning, when he gave his very first exposition dump about why he likes everything about Christmas, was just this.
I know, it was so deadpan. It was like, "I like the fire. I like hot cocoa."
Oh my God, the hot cocoa. I like the ribbons. I like the test.
People. My eyeballs getting sore. But yeah, dude, it was crazy.
I even like to devour the souls of little kids. Which kind of what it felt like. Like he was about to like bust open Great Cthulhu gonna pop out.
Like very deadpan. He's
the hot cocoa. Oh my God.
That cocoa, man. There was something in that cocoa.
And I have not been able to look at hot cocoa the same way since.
I know. I'm afraid Kirk Cameron laced it, or his sister did.
It's like I'm afraid at some point I'm gonna DM you and you're not gonna answer, and all of a sudden it's just I'm gonna like, and all of a sudden the news report, you know, YouTuber dies by drinking laced hot cocoa.
Better than being beheaded in the street. I'd go out that way. But no, it was there was a lot of parts that were not meant to be comedic, and they were. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like this movie was supposed to be exactly. The whole movie was essentially like trash comedy in the same sense that like
it was its own parody. It really was.
It really was. I mean, it was almost like a Mystery Science Theater 3000 movie without Mike and the robots.
Without the awesomeness, essentially. It was just a bad propaganda movie that really had nothing to do with the title, and he didn't prove any points, and yet the guy, Christian, still got Stockholm Syndrome and got his way.
I was going to say, yeah, because at the very end, after this third exposition dump, all of a sudden, Christian has this wild revelation that he's like, all my arguments were for nothing. I'm going to actually have fun. And then he kicks in the door.
His own door.
His own door with lights shining behind Kirk. Kirk going.
I know he's doing the same where he's like.
Seriously, I'm just like.
Free, my child.
It's like he was channeling Sacha Baron Cohen from Bruno.
I think symbolically it was like, I release you now.
Yeah, it really was.
But the funny thing is when he kicked open the door and the wife comes around the corner like, I was like, oh shit, she's pissed. It's like, who the fuck's kicking open my door?
You know what I almost thought the first time? I don't know if you ever saw the movie Office Space.
I don't think so.
Okay, we're gonna have to watch that at some point. It's like almost like I know, let's start making a list. I almost half expected to see like when he kicks in the door to like pull out a pump action shotgun and just go to town on the Christmas tree, and the whole time Uncle Bill is just sitting there deadpan staring at the camera. Just watching him go off.
Oh my God. And then it turns out they were all dead from the laced cocoa. So like he just went crazy in his own mind.
Exactly. But I mean,
that would be such a huge Inception twist.
I was going to say, now that you think about it, this movie has a lot of potential.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
I can see Ray and Knight save Kirk Cameron. It's the unreleased sequel. It's direct to shitio. But no, I mean, so Christian, after having this miraculous completing the program, kind of Stockholm Syndrome, he kicks in the door. does a slip and slide down through the tile floor and head first into the Christmas tree.
He didn't slip and slide, remember? He fucking bounced.
Oh, yeah.
Hit the floor and he bounced hard, too.
Seriously. I mean, hit the ground so hard, I half expected him to fart. Like, and then there's the awkward conversation with his wife, who we don't even know her name, so we have to call her by her, possessive format.
We don't know her name. Oh my god.
We were just calling her Karen for the lack of better wording. Oh my god, Karen.
But then okay, so like
let's go having flashbacks to you, me, and Meowjit playing Quiplash, and we started doing the "Oh my God, Brittany" voices.
Oh my God, Brittany! That's such an old joke with me, though. No,
yeah,
but
right.
Stop
along with the clown porn.
Boogie, I'm trying to talk. Go back to the whole to the revelation though. Like Cameron didn't even make a point, and yet Christian saw the light of ways, and I don't understand what changed though, because they didn't even talk about consumerism. It was just about Jesus and Santa, and it was so weird.
It was very Clockwork Orange-ish when you think about it.
I don't know, but then he does that whole weird plop on the kitchen floor, and everybody's watching him amazed, and I'm just sitting here holy shit, is he gonna be able to breathe? And then his wife comes out, and
I think at that point you were just like, what is going on?
I was saying that through the whole movie. Yeah, but then his wife, and then he has this revelation where he's like, I'm so sorry, I was such a bummer, and I'm such a Grinch, and blah, 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 blah. And they're like, you really were. You were horrible, and you were
She called him out.
She did. His wife was all like, you were terrible. And I was almost going to murder you. But then he's like, it's okay.
No, they took that out of the script.
But then he's all like, I'm going to change, I promise, for you. And she goes, I forgot what she said, but then she's like,
what are you going to say, Big Papa?
What are you going to say, Big Papa?
I thought he was ready to drop her and be like, sorry, Kirk already took care of me earlier in the car.
I know, right? I'm sorry, but if my husband was spending 20 to 30 minutes in a car with another man, I would probably assume they were doing something together.
They were going to make it a white Christmas, if you know what I mean.
So disgusting.
So we watched a movie.
Wait, no. Remember that comment I made? Because it kept jumping from Kirk to Christian to Kirk.
Yes.
To Christian. Mm-hmm. Remember that comment I made? I was like, you know why there's so many jump cuts? Wouldn't it be funny if one of them had white ooze trailing out the corner of his mouth?
It's just some whipped cream foam for the hot chocolates.
Well, it's as he was reacting, Christian's going on about consumerism, and he's reacting, but you can see ooze in the corner of his mouth.
Oh my god. Yeah, coming up next, Kirk Cameron saves pornography.
No, it's more like saves blue balls. But yeah, or saves man from blue balls. I don't know. But anyways.
Anyway, so somehow this Big Papa shtick evolves into Token Brother turning up holiday rap music and them forming a breakdown and a breakdancing ring that somehow has the uncanny ability to serve us Step Up 3D.
God, that was the worst part. So yeah, at the end, they remixed a Christmas song, and then the black guy was doing a horrible auto-tune sound, and
Cameron.
Oh my god, that's right, his name. And then 5 or 6 random people that weren't even introduced in the whole movie just start dancing in the why is this happening?
To the point Kirk Cameron does the freaking worm.
Oh my god.
Which was probably also CGI, by the way.
Or stunt double.
Or no, I got it, because Kirk does lack exactly. Or Kirk just lacks a spine, so he had the vertebrae missing so he could actually do it.
Oh, damn.
Shots fired.
But no,
the headless kamikazes from Serious Sam come busting through the door.
But no, that whole dancing was so irrelevant and so unnecessary and just such a weird it was such, the whole movie is weird, but that part just made it so much worse.
It was just the movie was garbage from start to finish. I mean,
It really was.
it just absolutely made no sense whatsoever. I've seen a lot of trash flicks, a lot, but all of them, well, the majority of them have some sort of modicum of redeeming qualities, whether the special effects were decent or the lighting or maybe some minor character comments. Oh, and by the way, the movie ends with Bill sitting on the couch going, "This is why I love Christmas." End.
Yeah, it's like, what the fuck? Like, okay, so if we're being realistic here, that guy was sitting there through a normal Christmas party until this fat guy comes barging in, doing a belly flop, and then all of a sudden people start dancing, and it was like, that's from his point of view, and then he ends the movie like that. Like,
You know, and Bill wasn't even at the dining room table, by the way, during the final Kirk's final monologue when it's at the dining room table and everybody's sitting around drinking. Oh, and by the way, both had at least 2 glasses of wine on the table, one red, one white.
Yeah, dude, they all had like white and red wine. It was, and I think the kids did too. It was really
Yeah,
weird.
the kids definitely did. So once again, back to your theory that wifey laced the Kool-Aid.
I think it'd be perfect.
Women and children first.
Well, it's like they're all having a nice dinner and they're all laughing and talking, and then in a split second, they're just all dead on the floor.
Yeah, and then it cuts to Uncle Bill.
I love Christmas, and then he drinks it and dies.
Oh my God. It's the sequel to Cannibal Holocaust.
Oh God, Cannibal Holocaust. But no, it's just, this movie was such, like, it was a parody of itself, honestly. There was so much to work with here. There was not a second we weren't digging in it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, this movie was so self-aware.
Its badness. And it went with it. It was like, we know we're shitty, but we're going to try and make it shittier.
Yeah, I mean, at least in the God's Not Dead trilogies, which might have as well been written by Joseph Goebbels. I mean, at least in God's Not Dead, there were a few moments that held some sort of historic logic backing to it, but it was promptly quashed seconds later. But at least Pure Flix did a little bit of research. This movie was just kind of like, I got it, you don't, shut up.
Exactly. And it's like, I'm not really a fan of Christian music or just Christians in general, but if I saw a Christian film that at least had research done and historical fact and like maybe acknowledge that they realize this is all just based on faith and not facts, I could respect it a lot more.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
The fact that this movie was just pure propaganda about how there's a war on Christmas, and Kirk Cameron was like reassuring people how Jesus this and Santa that, like he really didn't do shit. He didn't really save Christmas, but it was purely straight up propaganda, and it was done in the worst way possible.
And the last thing I do kind of want to talk about briefly, this just kind of crossed my mind, is let's just talk briefly about the whitewashing.
Yeah, everybody was white. The end.
Historically speaking, in the movie, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, white.
Oh,
Santa Claus, white.
Well, I was just about to say the movie also recycled actors too.
Yeah. You're right.
Remember the guy who played Joseph was actually also in the Santa Claus flashback too.
Yeah, he was the guy that got, he played Joseph, and he was the one that was killed by Santa.
Because I even pointed out, I was like, wait a minute. I was like, that was Joseph. I recognize that bald head.
And the vacant expression, like, I don't want to be here.
But anyways, yeah, going back to what we were saying.
No, I mean, and that's the other big thing is, okay, St. Nicholas, according to history, was Greek, Mediterranean, olive complexion. Jesus, Israeli, Aramaic, not white. Mary, Joseph, not white. Every person, with the exception of brother, white.
Yeah, pretty much. And the sad thing, though, is that the movie isn't guilty of that alone. It's literally just Christians in general. My grandma was like super hardcore Christian. So when we were little, she would take us to church and she would hang portraits of Jesus on the wall. It was always a white man with blonde hair and blue eyes. And it's like, Jesus was Middle Eastern, and it's so weird how they acknowledge he's Middle Eastern, but they don't want to portray him as a Middle Eastern man. And the fact that nowadays most Americans consider Middle Easterns terrorists because, and it's like just one big, huge hypocrisy, honestly. It really is.
I just thought of a really mean joke when, not really terribly mean, but when he said that he was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed. He was Aramaic, not Aryan.
Oh. Well, and it's like, I don't know. It's so weird how they just have this whitewashed image of Jesus as their savior, but it's like they admit he's from Middle Eastern. They admit he's Middle Eastern, but it's like Jesus may have been able to do a lot of miracles, but I doubt changing skin color and hair color was one of them.
Yeah. I don't think he invented Maybelline.
Maybelline, that's a makeup company.
Whatever. I don't know. Pantene Pro V. Something that can do hair dye. I have no idea. The only thing that has color is my goatee, and that's gray.
I can name you tons of hair dye companies.
Fair enough. Well, now we know.
Well, now you know because you're a boy. But anyways, yeah.
And knowing it's half the battle, G.I. Joe.
No, it's G.I. Jose because we don't whitewash.
Okay, 10 points for that one. Yeah, so let's go ahead and wrap this review up, other than the fact that it was a complete piece of shit.
Yeah, no, it was just purely straight, what's the word? Just pure
propaganda,
conspiracy, Christian, everything. Yeah. It was one big mess. But if you're looking for a good laugh and to like tear it apart, that's a good movie to watch.
Exactly. I mean, and it's also free on Amazon Prime. So if you really are in the mood for a complete train wreck into dumpster fire land, just go on to Amazon Prime. If you really want to spend the money, buy anything.
Pureflix.
Pureflix, yeah. Buy God's Not Dead.
That's the sad thing, though, is that it is free on Amazon. So I'm just saying.
I mean, if you want a decent Christmas movie, go watch Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2.
Or The Grinch. I was going to say The Grinch.
The Grinch or Christmas Vacation.
I like Grinch.
Yeah, Grinch is good. Or Die Hard.
I also like Pootie Tang. I don't know why. That sounds like a porno, and I know it's not, but it just sounds like a porno.
It's okay. I like Disco Godfather. What can I say? Anyways, okay, so that's our thoughts on this complete train wreck movie. Once again, y'all, definitely go check out Rae's channel. I'll put a link in the description below to her YouTube channel. Rae, thanks so much for joining me on this crazy, insane journey.
No problem. It's been really fun, actually. I want to do it again.
Oh, we definitely will. So definitely keep your eyes peeled to the project because there will be more reviews with me and Rae. And as always, of course, a big thank you to Christoph Rae for being the sponsor of the Boogie Night Project. If you like excellent low poly horror games, check the link in the description below to his channel as well. I guarantee you will not be disappointed. And of course, with that being said, before I call it a session, if you like the Boogie Night Project and want to find out more, I do have a Twitter page as well as a public Discord channel. And links to both of those are in the description below, as well as a link to my temporarily defunct Twitch page. And if you have some money you want to get rid of without burning it or throwing off a bridge or wiping your ass with it, my Patreon. So otherwise, I hope you all have a fantastic night. And I'll catch you on the flip side, all right? Peace.
Damn, do you have